June 13, 1944, Normandy, France, 0640 hours. Rain clings to the hedgerows like a cold memory. Mud sucks at boots. Somewhere ahead, a German MG-42 chatters, short and controlled, like it knows it has all day. A column of American tanks waits behind a rise in the earth. M4 Shermans. Their engines idle with a nervous rattle. Gasoline fumes hang in the damp air. Inside one of them, a 22-year-old gunner wipes condensation off the periscope glass with his sleeve. His hands shake, not from fear exactly, but from anticipation. He has heard the stories. Everyone has. You can almost hear the voices from months earlier, across the channel. Ronsons. Light them once and they burn every time. Good for parades, not for real fighting. British officers said it openly, sometimes with a laugh. Now the Shermans begin to move. 2 years earlier, in a very different room, the mockery had been polite, but unmistakable. July 1942, Cairo, British 8th Army Headquarters. Major General Raymond Briggs, U.S. Army, stands near the edge of a map table while British officers crowd around. Teacups clink. Cigarette smoke curls lazily toward the ceiling fans. On the table sits a technical briefing folder stamped M4 medium tank. Someone flips through the pages. Someone else snorts. Too tall, one British colonel mutters. Jerry will see it from miles away. Another taps the armor thickness with a pencil. 50 millimeters at best. That won't stop an 88. There are nods, quiet agreement. They had fought Rommel in the desert. They had seen Panzer III and IV guns punch through British steel. They had lost friends in burning tanks. They trusted experience more than promises from Detroit. The American tank, they believed, was crude, overbuilt, underprotected, a mass-produced compromise from a nation that hadn't yet learned how real war worked. The British called it a tank designed by a committee. And when the meeting breaks, the verdict is clear. Useful perhaps, but not decisive. Not against Germany. The Germans agree for now. Captured intelligence reports from late 1942 describe the Sherman as numerous but inferior. German panzer crews note its thin armor and high silhouette. They learn quickly where to aim. At Kasserine Pass, the verdict seems final. American Shermans burn under the Tunisian sun. Panzer IVs punch holes clean through them. Veteran German crews maneuver with confidence. U.S. formations collapse under pressure. British observers watch closely. This, they think, is what happens when industrial optimism meets battlefield reality. The Sherman earns its nickname. Ronson. Strike it once. It lights every time. But war is patient, and it has a way of letting arrogance grow before cutting it down. Spring 1944, Southern England. Something has changed. British liaison officers embedded with American armored divisions begin to notice patterns, not brilliance, not elegance. Relentlessness. Shermans are everywhere, on roads, in fields, loaded onto landing craft in numbers that feel excessive. Crews drill endlessly. Engines are stripped, repaired, replaced, and running again by nightfall. Where a British tank regiment struggles to keep half its vehicles operational, American units keep rolling. Breakdowns are fixed fast. Losses are replaced faster. And unlike German panzers, the Shermans keep moving even when hit, sometimes limping, sometimes scarred but rarely abandoned. The British notice something else. American tank commanders don't fight their Shermans like German tanks. They don't duel. They swarm. Now back in Normandy, the rain eases. The Shermans crest the rise. Ahead lies a German defensive line dug into hedgerows and shallow ridges. Panzer Lehr Division, veterans, well supplied, confident. Their anti-tank guns are already zeroed in. A German lieutenant adjusts his binoculars. Too many, he thinks. The first Sherman takes a hit. Flames lick from the engine deck. The crew bails out. One man stumbles on fire before a medic drags him into cover. A familiar sight. A predictable outcome. The Germans brace for the rest to stop. They don't. The second Sherman fires on the move, then a third, then 5 more. He rounds slam into hedgerows, ripping apart camouflage positions. Machine guns chatter. Infantry follows close behind, pressed so tight to the tanks they are almost touching the armor. The Shermans don't pause to trade shots. They advance. Relentlessly. British officers observing from a forward command post-exchange glances. This isn't how it's supposed to go. Another Sherman is hit, then another. Smoke fills the field, but instead of a broken assault, something unexpected happens. The gap's close. More tanks push through. From the German line, it feels less like a battle and more like a tide. Panzer Lehr radios for support. Their guns are firing non-stop now. Barrels overheat. Ammunition runs low. Targets overlap. There are simply too many. And behind every destroyed Sherman, another one appears. And another. And another. This is the moment no one had planned for. Not the British. Not the Germans. Not even fully the Americans. The Sherman is still underarmored, still vulnerable, still imperfect. But it does not need to be better. It only needs to be enough. And there are more of them than the enemy can stop. As the afternoon wears on, a British major lowers his binoculars slowly. The mocking jokes from Cairo feel distant now, irrelevant. He watches as German positions collapse one by one, not from tactical genius, but from exhaustion, from pressure, from the simple, terrifying fact that the Shermans will not stop coming. What was once laughed at is now doing something no elegant panzer ever could. It is winning. And as Operation Cobra begins to take shape, one question hangs in the air, unanswered. If this is what the Sherman can do when it's unleashed, what happens when the Americans fully commit? The sun climbs higher over Normandy, burning off the morning damp. By noon, the battlefield smells of cordite, crushed leaves, and scorched oil. German gunners wipe sweat from their eyes. Their ears ring constantly now. Every direction seems to hold another American tank. The Shermans keep coming. Not in neat lines. Not in elegant maneuvers. But in motion, always in motion. You can feel it if you're standing in the hedgerows with the German infantry. The ground trembles, not from one massive machine, but from dozens of medium engines grinding forward together. The sound never fades. Even when one tank explodes, the noise continues behind it. That sound begins to change how men think. Inside a Sherman named Calamity Jane, Staff Sergeant William Harper grips the turret ring as the tank lurches forward. The interior is cramped, loud, stifling. The engine heat crawls up through the floor plates. Sweat pools inside his helmet. He knows the Sherman's weaknesses. Everyone does. Thin armor. Gasoline engine. A silhouette that screams, "Shoot me." But he also knows something the Germans don't fully grasp yet. If his tank goes down, another will take his place within minutes. And if that one burns, another will follow. The radio crackles. Keep pushing, don't stop, don't stop. Harper doesn't hesitate. The Sherman was built for this. This is what British observers are only now beginning to understand. The M4 Sherman was never designed to be the best tank on the battlefield. It was designed to be the most present. American doctrine doesn't ask a single tank to win the fight. It asks an entire system to do it. Tanks, infantry, artillery, engineers, radios linking them all together in real time. Where a German Panther is a masterpiece that demands perfect conditions, The Sherman is a workhorse that functions under chaos. And chaos is exactly what Normandy has become. By late June, British armored units begin operating alongside American formations more closely, side by side, same terrain, same enemy. The contrast is impossible to ignore. When a British tank breaks a track, it may be out for days. Spare parts are scarce. Recovery vehicles are limited. When a Sherman breaks down, American mechanics appear like ghosts. Engines are swapped, tracks replaced, tanks return to the line sometimes within hours. The British crews watch this with growing unease and growing respect. A British captain scribbles in his notebook after observing a joint operation near Tilly-sur-Seulles. American tanks are not superior individually. Collectively, they are overwhelming. It's the first time the word overwhelming appears in relation to the Sherman. It won't be the last. The Germans feel it even more sharply. Panzer commanders report something deeply unsettling. They are no longer choosing where to fight. The Americans are. Shermans probe constantly. They test flanks. They force engagements. They retreat, then reappear somewhere else entirely by nightfall. Every hedgerow becomes suspect, every road dangerous. And when German tanks counterattack, they find American artillery already waiting. The Shermans don't hunt alone. They are bait. In late July, Operation Cobra begins in earnest. The skies darken, not with clouds but with bombers. Thousands of Allied aircraft roar overhead. The ground shakes violently as German positions are pulverized from above. When the dust settles, the Shermans move. This time there is no cautious advance, no testing. This is a breakout. American tank columns surge through shattered German lines, exploiting gaps faster than German command can react. Radio networks hum. Orders flow instantly. German units try to regroup. They can't. The Shermans are already behind them. A German staff officer near Saint-Lô stares at his map in disbelief. American armor has advanced farther in 1 day than expected in 3. Supply lines are severed, artillery positions overrun, command posts abandoned in haste. The Sherman, once dismissed as a death trap, is now the spearhead of something terrifying. Momentum. British officers who once mocked the tank now find themselves asking a different question. How do you stop something that doesn't care about losses? German panzer doctrine relies on precision, positioning, and superiority at the point of contact. The Americans are doing something else entirely. They are replacing precision with pressure. And pressure does not require perfection. By August, British reports change tone completely. No more jokes. No more dismissive language. Instead, there is concern. Because the battlefield reality is undeniable now. The Sherman is not winning because it is stronger. It is winning because it turns industrial power into physical force and applies it without pause. The Germans are bleeding time, territory control. And the British realize something else, something unsettling. If this is what American armor looks like when restrained by hedgerows and narrow roads, what happens when it reaches open country? What happens when the Sherman finally has room to run? That answer is coming. And when it does, it will end the war in the West faster than anyone, British or German, once believed possible. The hedgerows finally fall away. August 1944, near Avranches, France, late afternoon. The land opens into rolling fields and long, shallow roads that stretch toward the horizon. Dust hangs in the air, kicked up by hundreds of tracks and tires moving in every direction. For the first time since Normandy, American armor can breathe. And the Shermans surge forward. You can feel the shift immediately. The tanks no longer bunch up, no longer crawl from hedgerow to hedgerow. They fan out, engines roaring, turrets scanning wide arcs, columns stretch for miles, a steel river pouring south and east. For German commanders, this is the nightmare scenario. This is where doctrine collapses. A German panzer officer watches from a tree line as the American advance unfolds. Through his optics, he counts Shermans, then stops trying. There are too many. They are not forming careful lines. They are bypassing resistance, leaving pockets of German troops isolated and confused. American infantry follows in trucks and half-tracks, sealing off what the tanks have already broken through. This is not a battle. It is an unraveling. British armored units advance alongside the Americans now, moving through ground once thought impassable. A British lieutenant colonel, veteran of El Alamein, studies the scene with narrowed eyes. He had fought Rommel's best. He had lost friends to German 88s. He had once laughed at the Sherman. He does not laugh now, because what he is witnessing does not resemble any armored warfare he was taught. The Sherman thrives here. Its mechanical reliability means it can drive all day without catastrophic failure. Its moderate weight allows it to cross bridges German tanks dare not risk. Its standardized parts mean damaged vehicles are dragged off, repaired, and returned to the column with unsettling speed. And its greatest strength emerges fully at last. Numbers. German counterattacks come late and disorganized. Panthers and Tigers strike isolated points, knocking out Shermans with terrifying ease. American crews die, tanks burn. The price is paid in fire and blood. But for every successful German ambush, the American response is immediate and overwhelming. Artillery slams the suspected firing points. Fighter-bombers scream down from the sky. New Sherman units swing around the flanks. The German tanks withdraw, not because they are beaten tactically, but because staying means being erased. This reversal is profound. For the first time, German panzer crews feel hunted. British observers notice something else. American crews are not breaking. They mourn their dead quickly, they mark the losses, and then they move on. There is no pause to debate the tank's design. No time for theory. The Sherman works well enough. And that is enough to change the war. Near Argenton, a British staff officer listens to intercepted German radio traffic. The tone is frantic. Units reporting American armor appearing unexpectedly in their rear. Requests for fuel that cannot be delivered. Orders that arrive too late to matter. One phrase repeats often. Too many. The laughter is gone now. In British mess tents, the conversation has shifted completely. Officers talk about American logistics, about replacement rates, about the terrifying speed of U.S. armored exploitation. One British major admits quietly to a colleague, "We were wrong." It is not said lightly. It is not said loudly. But it is said. The Sherman has not changed. Its armor is still thin. Its gun still struggles against heavy German tanks head-on. Its crews are still vulnerable. What has changed is context. The Americans have turned a flawed machine into a weapon of inevitability. And inevitability is something even the best German tank cannot fight. As August turns to September, the breakout becomes a flood. France collapses in weeks, not months. German units retreat in disorder. Roads choke with abandoned vehicles. Fuel dumps burn. British commanders watch the map fill with American arrows pushing deeper, faster, farther than anyone predicted. They understand now. The Sherman was never meant to win duels. It was meant to win wars. And the final proof is coming soon, when the Americans take this momentum and aim it straight at the heart of Germany, September 1944. The Belgian border, dawn. Mist hangs low over the roads as American armored columns roll east. The advance has not slowed. If anything, it feels more confident now. Crews ride half-exposed in their hatches, scanning the countryside with the calm of men who know momentum is on their side. The Sherman is no longer an experiment. It is the backbone. British armored officers travel with American units, not as skeptics now, but as students. They watch how U.S. tank battalions rotate crews, how damaged vehicles are pulled out and replaced almost seamlessly, how fuel and ammunition seem to appear exactly when needed. One British brigadier makes a quiet observation in his diary. The Americans do not advance by brilliance, they advance by certainty. Certainty is harder to stop than genius. German resistance stiffens as the Allies near the Reich. Panzer units fight with desperation now. Tigers lie in wait near villages. Panthers ambush from tree lines. The Shermans still die quickly when caught in the open. But something crucial has shifted. The Americans expect losses, and they plan for them. Tank destroyers position themselves to counter heavy armor. Infantry screens every movement. Artillery stands ready, pre-registered and devastating. And when the Shermans roll forward, they do so knowing they are part of something larger than themselves. A system. British commanders finally admit what once felt unthinkable. If the Allies are going to reach Germany's heartland, it will not be led by elegant British cruisers or rare heavy tanks. It will be led by thousands of medium tanks that simply refuse to stop. The Sherman has become the physical expression of Allied strategy. Relentless pressure, constant movement, no time to recover. The German response becomes increasingly desperate. Orders from high command demand counterattacks that cannot be supplied. Fuel shortages strand panzer units miles from the front. Crews abandon tanks that cannot move. American Shermans roll past these wrecks, barely slowing. For German soldiers watching from ditches and forests, the psychological impact is crushing. This is not a single enemy to defeat. This is an entire industrial civilization moving forward on tracks. British war correspondents begin writing differently now. No longer with mild condescension, no longer with backhanded compliments. They describe American armor as unstoppable, ever-present, ceaseless. They describe the Sherman as the workhorse of liberation. The phrase spreads. And perhaps the most striking change comes not on the battlefield, but in memory. Men who once joked about the Sherman now defend it fiercely. They argue its case in staff meetings. They point to maps covered in Allied advances. They speak of logistics, of replacement, of endurance. They speak like Americans. As winter approaches, the Allies prepare for what they believe will be the final push. No one knows what surprises remain. No one yet sees the Ardennes storm gathering. But one truth is settled beyond argument. The Sherman, once mocked as inadequate, has proven something far more important than superiority. It has proven reliability under fire. And when the next crisis comes, when German armor makes one last furious gamble, the Sherman will be there. In the snow, in the forests, under impossible pressure. Still moving, still fighting, still proving its worth. December 16, 1944, Ardennes Forest, 05:30 hours. Snow blankets the trees, swallowing sound. The cold is brutal, numbing fingers within minutes. Sherman engines cough in the dark as crews struggle to coax life from frozen steel. Then the German artillery begins. Shells crash through the forest, splintering trees, tearing open the stillness. The Ardennes offensive has begun. For the Germans, this is the last gamble, one final throw of everything they have left. For the Sherman, this is the ultimate test. German Panthers and Tigers push through narrow forest roads, their crews believing, hopping that here at last, American numbers will not matter. The terrain favors ambush. The weather grounds Allied aircraft. Visibility is poor. If the Sherman is truly a flawed machine, this is where it dies. American tank units are caught off guard. Some Shermans are destroyed in their bivouacs. Crews scramble under fire, barely dressed, climbing into freezing turrets as rounds land nearby. British observers, now integrated fully into Allied command, watch anxiously. This is the moment that will decide everything. The first days are chaos. German armor punches deep, towns fall, roads clog with refugees and retreating units. The enemy seems unstoppable. And the Sherman burns again. Once more German guns slice through its armor. Once more the flames rise. But something different happens this time. The Americans do not collapse. Shermans dig in at crossroads, forming improvised strongpoints. Tank crews fight from hull-down positions, using terrain instead of armor. Infantry clings to villages, calling in artillery strikes by radio even as shells fall around them. Every road becomes a delaying line. Every tank a sacrifice meant to buy time. British officers recognize the pattern instantly. This is not about winning today. It is about surviving long enough to win tomorrow. The German advance slows. Fuel runs low, tanks stall. Orders become confused. Snow and mud bog down even the mighty Tigers. And then slowly the balance shifts. American reserves arrive. More Shermans. Always more Shermans. By Christmas, the skies clear. Allied aircraft return, hunting German columns trapped on narrow roads. Artillery pounds the forest relentlessly. German armor is chewed apart not by superior tanks, but by a coordinated system that never gives them a moment to breathe. The Sherman plays its role perfectly. Not glorious, not invincible, but everywhere. British commanders watch the counteroffensive unfold and finally understand the full truth. The Sherman is not a weakness. It is the reason the line holds. It absorbs the shock. It delays the enemy. It gives time for air power, artillery, and logistics to crush what remains of German strength. Without it, the breakthrough would have been catastrophic. With it, the German gamble fails. As January 1945 dawns, the Ardennes is littered with wreckage. Burned-out Tigers, frozen Panthers, abandoned guns. And Shermans. Many destroyed, many damaged, many still running. The Americans push east again. This time, nothing will stop them. The British officers who once mocked the Sherman now speak of it with a tone bordering on reverence. They do not pretend it was perfect. They no longer care. Because perfection did not win this war. Persistence did. And the Sherman was persistence, forged in steel.